Hi, welcome back. Today we're going to look at creating a slip stitch selvage edge, which gives us this beautiful, very even, quite a good structure to the edge of our knitting. You can see here it gives us this beautiful V-shaped edging. This piece that I've worked on already is the headband from the Hair Necessities set. But it works just as well for blankets or for shawls or scarves, or even for the edge of a cardigan. If you'd like to do edge to edge work on a cardigan, it just gives you this beautiful, you can see here, it's a lovely straight edge that we get here. It's nice and even, and whether you're working in garter stitch or you're working in stockinette stitch, we still get this lovely even edge to our work. So let me show you how we work it. Okay, let's talk through how we're going to create this beautiful selvage edge on the end of our project. I've cast just a few stitches on here just to talk you through the process. So the first 3 rows are setup rows, and then from row 4 onwards you can carry on just working the same pattern all the way through. So let me show you how we've done this. We've got a few stitches cast on here to work our way through it. And the way we're going to start is bringing the yarn to the front of our work. Now, first setup row, we will work a purl stitch first of all. We want to keep that nice and loose, and then we're going to take our yarn to the back of our work, and then we're going to knit each of the last few stitches. Okay, so that's row 1. Now row 2 is ever so slightly different. We're going to keep our working yarn at the front of our work, but this time rather than work a purl stitch, we're going to insert our needle purlwise, but we're just going to slip that off the left hand needle rather than work it as a purl stitch. And if you just make sure you keep this slip stitch here nice and loose, because we'll need that when we come back to work for it. So once we've slipped it purlwise, we then go ahead and we knit our other stitches. Okay, so we've got 1 stitch left on the left hand needle here, and you can see where we've got a little loop here. Now what we're going to do is catch that loop with our right hand needle, and we're going to lift that and put it onto the left hand needle. So we've now got two stitches on the left hand needle called a Distitch or a double stitch, and we're going to knit those 2 together. Okay, so that's row 2 complete. So row 3 is very similar in that we're going to bring our yarn to the front again, and we're going to insert our needle purlwise, and we're going to slip that off rather than work it as a purl stitch, and we're going to take our yarn to the back, make sure we're keeping this nice and loose here, this slip stitch nice and loose, and then we're going to work knit stitches across until we get to our last stitch again. Now what you should see here is that we now have two little loops here, so we're going to lift that onto our left hand needle, and then we're going to knit those 2 together again as we did before. Okay, so that's row 3. Now we should be able to work continuously now using the same process. So we will bring our yarn to the front, insert our right needle purlwise, slip that first stitch off, and then knit our way across until we get to our last stitch. And because we've kept these slip stitches nice and loose, it's easy to see that we have 1 stitch here and we have another stitch sitting above it. So it's that top stitch that we need to pick up to add onto our left hand needle, and then we can work those 2 together. So we're just going to knit those 2, and this is what gives us this lovely selvage edge. Okay, so once you've got through to row 4, then we just continue on working in exactly the same way. So we'll insert our needle purlwise, we'll slip that yarn to the back, then we'll knit our way across. Until we get to our last stitch, and you can see very clearly here we've got these 2 stitches that we've slipped earlier. So we're going to insert our right needle under the top of those 2 stitches, lift that onto our left hand needle, and then we're going to knit those 2 together. Okay, so we're going to just carry that working on, and you can see the start of the selvage edge here. It's starting to look quite neat. Let me just show you that one more time. So you bring our yarn to the front, insert our right needle purlwise, slip the stitch, and you can see here the 2 stitches that we'll be picking up when we work our way back. Then we take our yarn to the back and work across to the last stitch. And you can see here nice and clearly now we've got 2 loops. We're going to pick up the upper one, slide that onto our left hand needle, and then we're going to knit those 2 together. Now, if you happen to be working a pattern in stockinette stitch, you're going to need to know how to do this selvage in purl stitches on purl rows as well. It is very similar, there's just a slight difference on the second stitch. So what we're going to do when we work a purl row is bring our yarn to the front as we usually would. We'll insert our needle purlwise and we'll slip that first stitch. Now the difference here is we're going to knit 1 stitch just to secure that yarn in place, and then you can carry on with your purl stitches and follow your pattern so that you work as many purl stitches are required for your pattern. In this case I only need to do 1 for this sample, and then work your way across the row until you have 2 stitches left on your left hand needle. When you have 2 stitches left, what we're going to do is to knit that first one, and then we'll carry on doing what we have been doing previously. So we have our 2 slip stitches sitting here. We're going to lift the uppermost of those 2, pop that onto the left hand needle, and then we're going to knit those 2 together. Okay, so it's very, very similar setup as working with the garter row. You just need to remember to slip your first stitch purlwise and then knit to secure it, and then work the last 2 stitches on your left hand needle slightly differently. And you can see here this beautiful selvage edge is starting to build up nicely now. Okay, so I hope that's been useful for you. Please do let us know in the comments below what else you would like to learn. We'd love to see you back again in the future. So I hope that's helped. Bye bye.